So you're researching private schools for your family. There are tens of thousands of them out there, and each of them offer a distinct learning environment. And they're by nature schools of choice. The whole concept of private schooling is based on the idea that parents should be able to choose a learning environment that mirrors their worldview, their religious values, or a learning style preference that they have for their children. At School Choice Week, we raise awareness about all the types of education options that exist, from traditional public schools to public charter schools, public magnet schools, private schools, online schools, and homeschooling. We don't have a favorite, but we think parents should know all their options so they can make the most informed decision when it comes to what their children need. So, without further ado, let's get into what you need to know about private schools. There are private schools available at a wide range of price points, and a lot of states have scholarship programs that help families afford the cost of private schools. And some of these started as long ago as the 1800s in places like Maine and Vermont. What's the difference between a charter school and a private school? Well, the biggest difference is that charter schools are public schools, so they're always free for students to attend, and they're funded directly by taxpayer dollars, which means they have regulations that come along with that. On the other hand, private schools charge tuition and fundraise to cover the cost of their expenses. And because they aren't directly funded by taxpayer dollars, they have a lot wider latitude on how they educate their students. So, where can you get rankings and parent reviews on the schools you're interested in? Well, there's 3 websites we recommend that you check out, and they each track slightly different things. Those websites are Niche, Great Schools, and Private School Review, and you can see all of those links in the description below. But while you're there, make sure you don't only factor in those ratings and reviews. Take the time to talk to the school leadership or visit the school if you can to get a really strong sense of what they're all about. That'll help you make the most complete picture of what you're deciding on. Do private schools follow state standards? Well, each state sets its own rules about their private schools, but most states do require that private schools are licensed, accredited, or approved by the state. And most private schools also follow state standards for things like safety, health, and building codes. There are a few different technical terms you may encounter when you're looking into private school choice programs, or programs that help families afford private schooling. I'm going to break down the difference between them for you really quick. A school voucher lets families use all or a portion of the public funding set aside for their students' education to pay tuition at a private school of their choice. A tax credit scholarship program is funding given by a scholarship granting organization to families that helps them pay their private school tuition. Those scholarships are funded by donations from individuals or organizations who are getting a tax credit for that donation. An education savings account, or ESA, is a government-provided savings account with a certain amount of money in it that parents can use for qualified education expenses. Lastly, an individual tax credit or tax deduction allows families to deduct or take a tax credit for their education expenses from their state income taxes. So, are private schools really an option for low and middle income families? They absolutely can be. Not only do most American states have a program in place that helps families afford private schools, but there are also independently operating charitable organizations that focus exclusively on that, independent of state programs. Those include places like the Children's Scholarship Fund and ACE scholarships. And last but not least, the individual schools themselves often have their own financial aid programs. So, keep private schools in the mix of what you're researching, and if one of them makes your short list, do some research into your funding options. You may be surprised. So that's it, your crash course in private school choice. We'll link to our state-by-state guides and some additional reading in the description below so you can move forward if this sounds like the right type of school for your family. As always, if you found this video helpful, please hit the like button, share it with friends, and subscribe to our channel before you go.